show, visitors from extraplanetary orbit, taking up to 70% more time to adjust to new Earth gravity. Dutch State Department reporting significant decrease in land value across all components due to recent earthquake scares. 200 seagulls accidentally incinerated in recycling incident. Brain activity in young adults reportedly much lower.
Hello, person. Welcome to this place.
Hello, person. Welcome to this place. You are now tuned into the sounds of Noisia Radio.
Noisia Radio.
Yo, welcome to this very, very special episode of Noisia Radio.
Yes, this episode we will take you through the whole album Manifest by Mefjus. We've got Mr. Mef in the studio, we got Maksim here.
Hello everybody.
Big up.
Yeah, we're gonna stop talking now because the first song has vocals. But we're gonna talk about the whole album as we play it.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, attention please. Your flight to S04E18. Please proceed to gate control. This is your final call. I repeat, this is your final call.
On the runway, now the path's set. Feel the engines blast by your palms sweat. Heavy cargo, heavy hard chest. Pulsating till your very last breath. No time to regress. The more we advance, the more we express. Never fear what you thought was the path to progress. Get set as we bring forth the manifest. 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 The manifest.
All right, Martin.
Yes, welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for having us in the studio. And the song you just heard was Manifest, vocals by Max, who's in here as well. And what was the idea? The idea was to kind of put the message across, combined with a little aeronautical theme to it. Max, maybe you can explain.
Yeah, I think, you basically put across what you wanted the album to represent. It wanted to be wanted to be something new. And I think the fact that it had the introduction where it was sort of airport vibes represents also what we do a lot, which is airports all the time.
Yeah.
And we wanted to get Vision in there, VSN 035.
Yes. Yeah.
All the business. I think it does the trick to introduce the album in a big way.
Yeah, thanks for your vocals and the explanation on that.
There you go.
All right, on to the next one. This is Fracture.
Fractured! Break It. Actually, it is Max on the vocal as well. On the little short break. So yeah, that's him. So the actual break vocal snippet in there is Max, but the vocal in the build-up towards the drop, where it goes break it, is actually me recording the word break it, and I put it back into Serum. And you can, I don't know if people know that, you can actually use audio files in Serum as well. They get analyzed and then you can put it back in and trigger them as a wavetable, so to speak. And I think I put a little bit of a comb filter on it to give it some sort of delay within the vocal. So that's how the build up to the drop was made. So it's partly both of us on the vocal in a way.
Cool, yeah.
Nice.
I remember getting this one, like the demo of this, and because this was one of the demos that was kind of on the halfway point, I guess, of the album that came through.
Oh, this cowbell.
That's the gangster cowbell right there. Yeah.
I remember because we'd been working together like a while before that, and you were all about mono back then, and then heard this, and it had all this texture around the bass. Like, what? Where's all this? Why all this stereo, Martin? What lunacy?
Did we not agree to not do stereo anymore?
Yeah,
You guys had
there
like
was the mono phase. Yeah,
You had a mono phase.
yeah, it was good in a way. Yeah, get over it.
Yeah.
But this is definitely one of my favorite mixdowns from the album. I think I listened to this mixdown a lot, thinking like, why is it so? There's a lot of pressure in it, but it doesn't sound like it's really compressed in an annoying way. But there's a shit like the low end pressure and the energy in the sound is really like 100%. But it doesn't. The high end and the mids, they're not flat. And I think that's what makes it a special...
It's a weird mix, yeah. I remember talking to you about one thing because I couldn't get it right, and then I just put a pre-limiter, put an EQ, and I boosted one frequency.
Guys, get a room.
No, seriously,
I'm sure.
I remember talking to Nick saying, Nick, I just did something wrong. I think, can I pick your brain on it? Because I pre-EQ'd the pre-limiter EQ'd the song, and you were like, yeah, dude, if it sounds fun, it's fine, you know? Okay.
Wow!
I got his
mind blown.
Yeah,
if it sounds fine, it's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people listening will be, kind of into the technical part, but also some people will not. So we need to find a balance there.
Yes.
I wanted to talk about the little outro of Fractured because I don't know. I like to think that is like as label A&R, that is kind of like my influence. Where I was like, hey, why don't you tell a little different story after the drop instead of a second drop repetition? So how do you feel about kind of like the way you've had a fresh look at songwriting? And
definitely, I mean, I've said it many times, the A&R was so helpful in so many ways, like as you said, and also not only the technical aspect of it, but the songwriting aspect of it, and understanding what makes a song, and what elements make a song, and as you said, do we need a second drop for this, or has the main story been already told? Maybe go in the outro in a different direction to kind of emphasize the point of what the song is about. With Fractured, for instance, taking the intro theme and kind of audio-wise breaking it up with the distortion, so kind of making the point in a different way rather than just copy-pasting the second drop. So and again, we're just listening to If I Could in the background now already, and I remember you saying I think you liked the song pretty early on, but for all of us it was missing some sort of musical theme to it, and we also missed the theme that could be brought back from the intro to the main part, and that's what I picked up then and made this last 16 all about, which then also came into the intro, the musical theme, and that totally made the song for me ultimately. So
those intros sometimes can make the song. We've had that many times on more album tracks where we have a really nice loop, but it doesn't mean anything yet, and we need something else to kind of tell us what the first thing means. And
it's
funny how that works.
It's also nice to have something you can bring back later in the song, which you heard already, and it makes sense ultimately. Gives you more content as well for the arrangement part to roll it out quickly. Yes.
If I could,
Is it also Max?
Yes, it's Max vocals.
Obviously, all vocals on the album.
Obviously.
Either me or Martin.
Yes.
This one's Martin, I think.
Yeah, no, it's not. Actually, on the second drop, because we hear it now, it was a bit weird. I had it layered a bit harder, and I think we're all discussing it in terms of when should I bring back the "if I could" phrase before it drops for the second drop. And then we kind of agreed on this second drop in a way that it drops, but it doesn't, so it kind of leans into a drop, but then it doesn't really go as hard, and then with the vocal it drops into the second 16 of the first main part, which kind of for me is the rock and roll part of the song anyway. So that was also kind of a weird compromise, and I listened back to the version I was very militant and confident about beforehand, and I was like, no, that's wrong, this is actually how it should be. So I was very happy that we kind of made this compromise on all sides. So also, this is the Think Shaker invented by Tice. Second 16 Think.
Always.
All the way.
Right, so as you have noticed, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. So if you want to hear the actual tunes, we suggest you go and listen to the actual album. I think it's for this podcast and for this commentary edition, it's probably a lot more interesting if we just keep talking. So it's kind of like a disclaimer apology, but we're gonna talk when we have something to say. We're gonna keep talking. So
Yes.
just
No
saying.
apologies.
Yeah. So it's also going to be interesting to see which songs were made when in the 2.5 year making of the album. I think this, If I Could, was one of the newer songs on the album. And Fractured also-ish, I would think. But there are some songs in there which were made pretty much end of 2015. And yeah, it's interesting how they still were able to make it on the album from a sound design point of view, maybe.
What's next?
Physically.
Physically.
I think one of my favorites, especially when we do it live. There has never been a bad crowd reaction to this one because it is just really, really hard.
Do you remember the version where I had this weird vocal before the drop?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I remember what it said as well. Do you remember what it said?
Yeah, I did. But we can't put this on radio.
Oh, yes, we can. We can just bleep it out. What did it say?
I think it says, no smart pretty bitch wants to me. And then it drops. And so ultimately we knew there has to be some sort of vocal, which is ridiculous. But it was just way too far out there. And
Wasn't it 2 tracks at first?
Exactly.
Sort of molded into one, I think.
Exactly. I was showing the guys two pretty similarly angry halftime songs, and both did one thing very well, but missed one thing very massively. And this one song had the vocal in there being physically, and the other one was the way it drops actually without the vocal at all. And it was funny how the 2 songs completed each other totally, because also the songwriting of those original songs had the A part in one song and the B part in the other. But then at some point I just threw them together and then it worked. And I remember you guys not liking the individual songs that much.
Yeah.
But then when I was able to merge them together, I think it was again a nice compromise.
Well, I mean, in the end, what I like to see myself doing is having you make your best album, and at some point in any discussion with any artist, I always go like, I just want you to kind of reconsider your own opinion, but then if you want to stick to your guns, I really like that, because then you are sure, and then you're confident that you're making the right decision, and then I don't have to necessarily personally love the decision or agree with it, but then I'm like, now it is a very well considered decision. You've thought this through. You can explain to me why you want it this way, and then I'm like, cool, have it your way.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Loud noises.
Yeah.
I think before it was wasn't it the first, like the main part of the first drop was one tune, and then the kind of that groove. And before you were playing both separate tunes at gigs, we loved the element of the grooviness of the physically that was just so good. But then the drop of the first part, the first beat that comes in, is so hard. It was just going to be impossible to leave those, and when you put them together it was so perfect.
Yeah, it worked.
Banging.
It worked. Yeah, to quote Nick, Frankenstein stuff together.
Yeah, it does.
It does work, man. Yeah, funny side fact, those little blings in the background, it's actually field recordings from a metal thing my dad was working on. He's got his workshop next to my studio room, so he's always building shit, and there was just tools laying around. I was looking for some texture to add to the song, and that was like 2 metal things I cranked together. Nice. And it was
it sounds like a kung fu movie.
Yeah. Good point.
All right, what's next?
Right, next one is Ringshifter.
Right.
And
I think this is the one that really triggered us.
Yeah.
Ringshifter and what was the other one?
It's one of the very first demos. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Sizzle Fizzle was the other.
Yeah. Sizzle Fizzle was the other one.
Also, I think started this 2015 actually. And
did Sizzle Fizzle actually make the album?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is it still called? Sizzle Fizzle?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was called Savages for a while.
Yeah.
But
that's why I'm confused. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, listeners. My brain is fried.
No worries, man. I mean, we've gone over this list a million of times.
But this one really got overhauled in a big way. Like the production kind of was completely updated, but the main riff sort of stayed the same.
Yeah. The one thing that really triggered me is the rhythm of this song. Is just, I mean, my still one of my favorite tunes of yours is you and Connor Disrupted. And
it's a similar approach in a way.
Yeah, it's like off grade, really like this is wrong, and then it's right because you loop it. I love that.
Yeah, when it drums, it feels like on the PA. It is such a weird contrast. Like the build up, there's no space, there's no dynamic at all. And then when the actual drop happens, you can see the snare being almost by itself. Every other bar, and just there's so much space between kick and snare. And then all of a sudden, and that kind of made it work for me in a way. And
Well, I always like to think about, how you would write this out in classical notation. because then I think really you're like 3/64 notes off the 16th grid, or like 32nd. And that for most people will be kind of wild. Because when you hear this, it's the same with like Dilla tunes. You hear it on the note, like your brain kind of quantizes it back to where it should be, but it gives it an extra like swag, like funk thing that it's late, because your brain is like actively interpreting the rhythm.
It's the same thing with the pitch, actually. It's with pitch and rhythm that your brain does it. So if you have a detuned sound that's off-grid, you have two ways of stimulating your brain. It's widening of the pitch and widening of the count of the rhythm.
Right.
So that's why that's stimulating. But especially the rhythmical thing is just like a process that in human brain is stimulating. In animals, not so much. Animals don't like it.
They hate
but
that
humans,
shit,
animals can hear pitch, but they don't like the rhythmical, because that is like a fear trigger. If there's an anomaly in a rhythm, that is a trigger for fear for animals, but humans like it.
Yeah, we're so weird.
That's more like is that more like syncopation in a grid, or like
just a deviation from a pattern?
Right.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
I still can't really like. I think I kind of know what the programming is, but I still can't really like. It's like this sleight of hand, the little double synth hits.
It's weird.
Like it happens too quickly to be like, oh, so this, then this, then this. It's like, wait.
That's what the tune sounds like.
Very.
If you set your sequencer to 128 BPM, I wonder what this sound like. But then you'd be like, oh,
there you go.
Okay. Stop. Press stop now. Press stop. All right. So Frank press stopped, our producer, and we're listening to it pitched down now. Wow. And you can hear how the bass comes after the kick. I don't know. If you're a producer, this is like a tool to understand
what's going on
music
in a song.
So how long are we going to butcher this song
there we
for?
go.
Oh, there we go.
Smashed it.
This song.
Yes, the song of the snare.
It's funny because this song, I think the riff of this song, if there's any riff, it's the intervals of the ghost snare and the snare.
Yeah.
It's just, what is it, like a fourth?
It is the ghost snare is 1/8 after the middle of the bar. How do you say that?
But yeah, I think
that's the third beat of the bar.
It's like our national anthem.
Yeah.
Is it?
The interval on the snare.
Yeah.
So that's the
Yeah. It is what it is.
That is ridiculous, Martin. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, Also, the original version, to be fair, didn't have the drone on the drop. That was something you said I should maybe give a try, and it totally made the song.
Yeah.
So the whole intro was about to introduce I don't know, grimy kind of environments, or like a moody environment of the song, and I had it on the breakdown. And originally when it dropped, it didn't have the drone in there, and I think Ty's first reaction was, dude, like, bring back the drone over the drop. And I was like, again, it felt like we shouldn't do that, you know. I was like, are you sure? I put it in there, and it just worked. So
it really reminds me, that drone, it really reminds me of this old Noisia track called End of the River. I'm not sure if that was ever finished. I think we might have played it at some point.
Yeah, we played the drumless version and all shit we never finished.
Yeah, no, because Thijs used to make quite a lot of like rollers, kind of in this vein with like these sort of bandpass drones that just kept.
There's also time stops with TB that's like that, and omissions is also kind of like that. I made a bunch of those, but then I heard this groove, I was like, do that thing. That I always used to do.
Apply the thing.
It's gonna work great.
Yeah.
And
it did.
It's a really nice collection now. But I love the way this song moves, because then there's this, for me, very obvious kind of like elbow nudge of friendship to Florian Face.
Definitely.
That is so Face.
Definitely.
And then
Love that shit.
Then it goes tech, and then it goes like kind of like abstract, and then you go back into the trance, the tunnel state.
I'm really happy. We had some discussions about the second drop as well, where the weird repeating drone is coming back an octave lower, and I remember I just had it there all of a sudden, but now I can actually hear it coming in from a reverb, kind of from a faraway room. So you kind of learn what's happening. So you learn the drone is coming back an octave lower, and then it drops.
Nice. Together.
Yeah.
What is this? What is this track about? Together.
Track was about to make my interpretation of how, like, let's say, quote unquote, a RAM roller should be about, like, you know, like an emotional but still hard hitting dance floor kind of tune. And I thought this vocal, and I knew I wanted to do something with it. It also went through a lot of stages, and I wasn't quite convinced you guys would like it, but you did, luckily. So it's a vocally roller. I think Martijn said it pretty interestingly in your last radio thing. It's like a emotional, hard-hitting roller, which is kind of quite defining, I think.
It feels quite like euphoric for me.
Yeah.
It's got a real euphoric feeling to it, which is great. Like,
And that was me going back on FM8 one more time for bass sounds. I pretty much stopped working with FM8 because, you know, tech talk again, sorry. But, you know, now there's many other, let's call it many other synths that are as good as FM8. But with this one, with those harmonic bass sounds, it's easy with FM8 just to dial in a harmonic here and there and shift it around. So that was one of the last songs I made the bass sounds completely with FM8. Yeah. So that's also one of the emotional connections to that.
This song is a track about Mefjus and FM8 together. Love relationship.
That's amazing.
Because that is what I definitely remember hearing the lead and thinking like, I wonder if doesn't really sound like Serum.
No, yeah.
Noisia radio.
Hey, Martijn is waving.
So did you use a lot of saturation on that sound, or are the harmonics generated through FM?
It is. Originally the whole bass sound was one FM8 instance, and but as you hear, the harmonics are changing within the song. So I just then had the top end of the original patch being the same thing, and then I had doubled or tripled instances of the harmonics, doing the low harmonics. So I think the original patch, which is creating the very gnarly top end sound, was a very distorted one. But the others are literally just sine waves, like.
Yeah, because it doesn't sound. It has a really cool balance between sounding like a distorted sound and sounding like a dry synth.
It's weird. It's a bunch of instances, you know, when you take out the low end and keep the high end, and vice versa, to make it work ultimately.
It's funny because it sounds like these frequencies are like actually manipulating each other. But if they're band limited,
that's what it is.
To sit where they should, then they actually are probably not doing that. But it does sound like there's like
I see what you're saying.
FM, like using a harmonic to FM on another. You know, that sort of shit.
Now's the pure rise up.
Yeah, 16 bars rising. And actually, I have to give some credit to Marcus and Ryan, came on Crooked. They helped me a bit on the intro, the little 16-bar chord music thing. I wasn't quite sure about, and Marcus helped me a little bit with getting that in the right order. So kudos to Marcus.
Big up, Cameron Crooked.
Yes. Also, like
Schnitzel power.
Yeah, man. Next to the Noisia A&R, always a big inspiration to talk to the boys about music in general, and big them up massively. Wicked guys.
Where did the vocal come from?
I can't tell you that.
Cool.
I love this switch, by the way, where the drums change.
Yeah.
Into the
super lo-fi.
Big crushed snare a little bit,
I also really like the original, like super high-pitched acoustic snare. It's really nice.
I think I used to think break as the main break, as the cymbally splashy thing on top, which I don't do usually. Oh yeah. Yeah.
This one's a bit of a banger. Do love this one.
I can't read.
Work it.
Work it. Work.
Oh, you gotta work.
Yeah. Yeah, we also can't tell who the MC is on the vocal.
No. It's basically me doing like a version of me. I decided to let go all of the features on this album just because, it's Martin's thing, so that's
nice.
Yeah, but it's a great tune, this one. I absolutely love it. It's so hard.
It's jokes. Again, the original version I showed you guys was completely different. It was called Hide and Seek. It was one of the weird sound design-ish hip-hop thing. But on the second session it went into this direction, which I prefer a lot now. And the cool thing is about it, I think it doesn't do much. This is a very quick song, and it just breaks up the album intensity a little bit because it is fun. I'm pretty happy how it came together.
I will work my ass off.
My favourite bit coming in with my fantastic vocal. Alright, all I have to do is go tech.
I was just talking to Jaap, who's the label manager of Vision before, and he didn't clock that the outro of this song is pretty jokes as well. And it's pretty much like I think a German brass band I found on YouTube doing this little brass thing, because I was looking for a brass layer for the second 16 to give it some sort of, I think, EDM kind of feel, like large comical brass element, and I just thought it would be interesting to put it as an outro in the song, and it is quite funny.
I think it gives the album a bit more of it helps to have the whole story vibe of the album, so it's not just drum and bass,
not just super dark, it's all about having fun in the studio as well, and
nice variation.
Have a laugh. So hold tight for the brass.
Work my ass off.
And that's
like a news show.
Pretty much.
Sleazebag. This is one of my favorites. This one and Sinkhole, I think, are my two favorite songs. I think this one is, in current days drum and bass climate, the most standout one for me, because no one really makes these songs anymore. It really reminds me of Ed Rush and Optical.
Yeah, that was kind of the inspiration for that, and like a hat tip to the old legends and the founders of this sort of thing. And idea was to make a quick drum and bass song, also, not fuck around too long with the intro, show the drums, show what the song is going to be like, and that's that. Also, arrangement-wise, I think we were talking about it as well. Really short song. There's a little breakdown in the middle, 16 bars, bass, kind of sphere-ish middle section. But again, it's a song. It is what it is. It does what it does.
Yeah.
Drum and bass. Let's go. Without any bigger.
Yeah, but I think the balance here in the production is really what I think makes this really impressive in a kind of a subtle way, because it's got the kind of vibe of Ed Rush and Optical with that kind of dirt, but the production is somewhere halfway between a more synthetic and modern clean sound and that old thing. But there's not a lot of records that have actually managed to do that. Full stop.
It is a thin line, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very thin line. So that's what I really appreciate about this song.
Cheers, yeah. I remember going through a lot of stages just getting the kick and the snare right.
Yeah.
As I said before, like when you go in the song with kick and snare being out there, I mean, it is what it is. So, you know, you hear it from the start, so you can't really mask it or cover it in a way. So it has to be convincing. Not even good or bad, just convincing for what it does. Yeah. And it was pretty tricky to get right. And also, fun fact, the cowbell in the break, which sounds like a warm break, or the cowbell of a warm break, is actually a serum cowbell. So yeah, had to be done. I think in Clusterfunk, you had like an FM8 cowbell you made, which you used through the whole song, wasn't it?
Yeah. I did that from like modeled one from the worm break. In FM8 one.
Hello, welcome to my radio. You are now listening to my radio.
So where's that kind of reversing sort of convoluter sound coming from? The one that does the semitone lead. Where does that come from? What is that?
I can't even remember. I would have to look into the project file. I think it would be one of the versions that is those toms on the snare, and maybe like a bounce of that, and then made it differently. I can't even remember.
Because it's such an interesting harmonic actually to highlight.
Yeah.
Because I think it's not the root note doing a semitone. I think it's somewhere of a major. I think it's major third going to minor third or something like that.
Could be.
But what is the main sound on the snare?
It's a tom. It's a big tom.
It is a tom.
Yeah, but very distorted and put through a lot of stages of affecting. And ultimately in the project it ended up as a sound. Like with having the song trying to kind of emulate in a way a very old school kind of
no manifest.
The wrong album. So I was trying to manifest a very old approach of a song, and that's why I kept the production also very rudimental in terms of bouncing stuff very early in the process as well. So yeah, I can't remember to answer the question.
Nice.
Good answer.
Good answer.
Yeah, but true. Yeah. Pivot coming in. Nice.
Yes.
Why is it called pivot?
Two reasons for that. One is because the whole groove is shifted. So the whole groove is pivoted to the right, so it's a 16th to the right. When you listen to the first breakdown, when the bass steps come in, one would think that the actual groove is based on each hit of the bass sound, but it's not. And I was like, when I was playing it to Nick, I was like looking how it's gonna react to the breakdown of the like the bass.
First play.
Exactly, yeah. And I saw him like getting it, and I was like, yeah, dude, watch it. It's 16 off. And he was like, yeah, I know. Like he totally clocked it. It was totally not overwhelmed by the fact that I did that. It was amazing. So this part here.
There's a kick.
Exactly. Yeah.
You gave it away.
Yeah.
But you should have. It's good because if you don't, it's kind of lame. But this is how you should do it.
Those bass plucks really get me going as well.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, groove. Also one of the earlier demos I think for the album, but also went through a lot of reworking and remaking the production side of the song.
I feel like this one was like kind of pivotal.
In
when you went to the kind of updating the sound of the entire album and finding a middle point for the sonics of it. I remember you sending me an updated mix of this that was one of the first that you were really happy with. And I was really excited about it too, and I think that was kind of a key moment, I think, right?
Yeah,
where
definitely,
you had a sort of anchor point to...
This is going to be the reference mix, so to speak, And also in terms of how you approach reworking a song, it was like, okay, I'm doing this and this and that, and it's actually working, and I like it, you guys liked it. I was like, yes, okay, let's rock this album through to the end. Let's do it. Yeah. Killer Cowboy again?
Yeah, number 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cowboy count is high.
So if we have to sort of say what this album is truly about.
Cowbells, pretty much. Yeah,
cowbell, more cowbell.
Yeah. And for the breakdown, kind of was trying to go a bit like psychedelic rock-ish, like Florian Faze sometimes does with his tunes.
Also, the bass plucks really remind me of Faze. He did
the whole vibe of it is also more like a hat tip to the stuff I grew up with listening to drum and bass.
Yeah. So what about the the bass guitar in there,
slap bass,
slap bass, which you never really hear like an obvious slap bass in drum and bass. It's very musical.
Yeah, I think we were also when finishing the songs. One thing that came up quite often was which elements can make a song even cooler. So if you get a very synthetic song or whatever, and it's nice to put a sound in that comes from a different space, different place almost. So having a very synthetic drum and bass song, and then sticking a guitar in or like a slap bass can really do something to a mix and to what it does to you.
I mean, it's very cliche, but if you have contrasts, then the one thing, like in this case the synthetic bass, becomes more of a synthetic bass by
comparison.
Putting it against a non-synthetic bass, whereas if you put a synthetic bass next to it, that kind of like makes both of them like blend in, and now there's like a juxtaposition, which makes everything more itself.
It's I guess kind of a matter of scale. The scale of difference between two similar synthetic bass sounds is a very small scale.
Yeah,
there's a huge scale in the difference between these two bass.
It's the same thing that I do now when I DJ, where I think drum and bass tunes are more harder drum and bass tunes if you come from like a longer period of not playing them. If you play 9 hard drum and bass songs after each other, the 10th is not going to be that hard. Whereas the same song could be like an ultimate hard drum and bass song if you play a couple of not so hard ones before it. It's the same concept, that something becomes more of itself if you put it in contrast with something that isn't that.
I think it's also, I love being that person that listens to a demo and because I can completely imagine how you're working on a loop or whatever. You've sent us this demo that's maybe 32 bars or whatever, and you're obviously completely enveloped in the sound design and the sonics and what you have there and what that is, but I'm not. So I can go like, well, this is all very strong sounding or whatever, and now you need something that's frail. Now you need like just add something that's not any of these things. Maybe a stupid preset off of a keyboard. And like it's you really if you're in the process yourself, you really have to sort of punch yourself and be like, wake up from this song. What can I add that is actually
break it?
How can I really make it more of a story and make it a bigger picture?
That's probably the biggest learning aha moment I had with working with you guys. Just try to step back and understand what the song can do, and as you said, waking yourself up a bit and throwing something in there that it might not work when you think about it at first, but then it actually makes the whole song work and tie together.
So it can seem like if you've only got like loud bass and loud drums and they're not perfectly loud and perfectly drums, then then you're gonna feel inadequate or incomplete until it's done. But if you add a different element that changes the story, then that's not the main point anymore. So you can have something that might adhere to other standards but still be very strong. And I think that's really important to do, to take the emphasis off the production sometimes, because if the emphasis is only on the production, you know that the song isn't really about anything just yet.
We just missed that really cool section. I really like that super weird one. But the second 16 is cool too.
Was this acoustic drums? Like, is the snare and acoustic?
This is all come off from Addictive Drums, and the actual break is based on a hip hop instrumental I was making for Max right there, and I just felt the way it feels lively and dynamic is so nice, and I haven't covered that aspect on the album yet, so I just took the drum preset and wrote a drum bass song around it. And I remember the first demo wasn't quite there yet. It was literally just the drums being very interesting and cool, I think, but the basses weren't really there yet. And I was pretty struggling to get this one right, to be fair. And I had also had some versions where the first main part was super long, then a super dramatic breakdown and a super long second drop, like a 6 minute version of the song. But then I think also Ty said, it doesn't really have to be that long. Like, what is the song all about? And then I thought, okay, for me the song is about this weird vibe it gives you, like an uneasy kind of. I'm not
I also love that there's a drone underneath it here.
Yeah, that's something we learned, so might as well use it.
Not every song has to be full energy, and like you can make it more like vibey by just putting like a pad underneath, and then it's a lot more clear what you're supposed to feel when you're listening to it.
Understanding what the song needs in a certain
I remember TB saying that about his Black Science Labs album, like that there was in none of the songs there was ever like silence in the background. It's always a little pad or atmosphere, like always going. I guess that's not really valued anymore now. It's not really that important.
It's all about dance floor, and well, not all about, but a lot of it is.
A lot of it, yeah. But some songs, again, like it depends on what the song should do on an album or generally. Yeah. And if you're aware of that, then might as well just have a cool reduced second drop with a drone in there.
Yeah,
I know.
So the album is titled Manifest. What does the title mean?
Well, the title means that it's a longer story. When we started working together, which was pretty much after my first album, I think you were joking about, yeah, Martin, do something for Vision at some point, and we were like, yeah, of course. And then it became some sort of running gag when we ran into each other at shows, like, yeah, Martin, where's the demos? Like, yeah, I haven't got any demos yet. Where's the demos? And then I think I started working on an EP in 2015, and the song you're hearing now, Sleazebag, Sizzle Fizzle, is also one of those first demos. So starting as an EP, through the A&R and the back and forth, and collecting opinions and figuring out what this EP should be, and then working towards a pool of songs, it kind of, for us it then made sense. You know what? This is actually a really big pool of songs now. Might as well make an album out of that. And for me, the manifestation was that process of realizing that this is going to be an album, and learning on the job with you people, and the initial motivation still though was to kind of up my game in terms of production as well, but also in terms of understanding songwriting more and go further out there, and also like trying to go in all the corners I like of drum and bass as well, also from a DJ perspective. Like I like to DJ like liquidish stuff, deep stuff, beat stuff, also heavy stuff obviously, so I also try to cover all of those aspects of the content side of the album. So that was the manifestation of a newer, more reinvented Mefjus, so to speak.
Yeah, and the reactions so far have been really, really positive. Everybody I spoke to that's heard it, it's just been really blown away, which I knew was going to happen. Like I knew when we had the album, I guess when we were about 80% or something, I was like, this is going to leave a mark. Like, this is going to hurt a lot of people's feelings. and
producers' feelings.
Yeah, but also, I think what's impressive about the Manifest concept and why I think the title is so justified is that you really went through all those subgenres and all those ideas and really walked them out like to the very end, and very disciplined about completely executing the concepts and really like taking the time and effort to perfect it, which shows a lot of love and dedication for the sound. And it never gets in the way of the music, that it feels like that's why it feels like a manifest, because it's so specific, because made so much of an effort and took so much time to nail a sound. And I don't think a lot of people have done that in an album the same way that this is done.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Ben. And I've said it before a couple of times, but again, I can't thank you enough for taking the time, all of you, including label management, but specifically you three persons, taking the time out, me flying over to Groningen, going to the studios separately over and over, talk through the songs, and me making notes, and big up for that. I know it's you guys are super busy as well, and but yeah, the A&R was fantastic, and the album wouldn't sound anything like that if it wasn't for you guys. So big up.
Yeah,
it was a pleasure.
Thanks for involving us, because it was really nice for us too to kind of like help you make something amazing. Really nice. Nice experience.
Go team.
Yeah, I think at this stage we should probably big up Kasra as well.
Of course.
Because of his role in the process, and how we've always been tight with him and always been really supportive of your releases on Critical, and like it was awesome to have him on board on the discussion of you doing something for Vision, and like his support for that was amazing.
Yeah, that's very true. We had a very long discussion about it. We just talked about it, and I explained to him my feelings towards doing an album for Vision, and he was, like, okay, why is that? Why do you think it would be better for you as an artist to do it with Vision? And then I explained to him, this A&R process. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I want to become a better producer and a better musician, and that for me was the way to take the next step, the 2.0. And he totally understood that, and he wished me the best of luck. And he also said, it couldn't be a better label for me because we're all family in a way, in terms of there's no competition or something like that. It's about putting out a good record and making good music. And so big up Castro for being super fucking cool and down about all that.
Yeah.
Wicked.
So where are we at now?
We're doing Assembler, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, so can you tell us something about this song?
The main bit here in the background, which goes, well, I can't even emulate it with my mouth. The weird texture thing in the back, that is something I think you brought to my attention in terms of, you were talking to, I think, Lawrence from former Ivy Lab, now Halogenics, still Halogenics, never left Halogenics, that they recorded some sort of keychain and dangled it in front of a microphone and then pitched it down many octaves, and then it becomes audible again and very slow and like mechanical.
Yeah.
And I found it a very cool idea to just try to put it into a sampler, like an MPC sort of sampler. So I put it out on my keyboard with different variations of the same sound and just played around as the drums were going, and a little loop fell together. And for me, that whole mechanical sound to it gave it the assembler kind of, putting shit together in a mechanical point of view kind of vibe.
Yeah, I think I remember telling you about it because it was about the Ivy Lab Tentacles remix.
That's what it was.
Because there's this really sick sound in there, and I asked him how they made it, and it was some percussion sample that they tuned way down, like a high sort of sample. But I was at that time recording my keychain, throwing it in front of the mic.
Yes, that's what it was.
And pitching that down as well. Like, and I sent you like a little clip.
Yeah.
So basically, it's your father's tool shed again.
Sorry?
It's your father's tool shed again.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So is this about your dad? Is he the assembler? Is he assembling things?
No, actually, no.
Are you assembling your dad?
Jesus. No.
I mean, everybody knows you're an engineer, but are you actually engineering your parents?
I'm working on something. And we Austrians got a weird relationship with our basements and people.
Yes.
So,
eugenics.
Wow.
Eugenics.
Jesus.
Right.
So yeah, quick arrangement as well. Quick arrangement. Didn't need a second drop really. You know, in and out. The story has been told, and that's all that. Pretty happy with the drums. They're pretty much like the first bigger Serum experiment where we tried to make a lot of it with Serum, and turned out quite okay.
So what is this about, Martin?
The next song is called Divergence, and it's about stuff that continuously changes. And the vocal is one of my favorite
by me
MCs, exactly.
And each and every time.
It's just a very, very sick vocal, and I tried the vocal with various other songs and other drops. Really heavy stuff as well, but I always came back to this original idea where it's just the roller that continuously changes the bass sound, and stuff comes in and goes out, and the vocal says it's not like it was, and then it does that. Yeah, it is pretty much it's a roller thing, isn't it? And again, it's this monotonic vibe I really like about drum and bass. Like, I think this is, if you find similarities, I think this is probably the most similar one to Sinkhole in a way. What it does, it's more aggressive, it's more out there, but I think the idea behind it is a similar one, to have like a techno-ish roll-up that just progresses and progresses, and that's that.
It's not like it was.
And it has cymbal soup.
I know what?
This song has cymbal soup.
Cymbal soup, alright. The splashy guys.
It sounds really nice in this song.
Different.
Ooh. This is the Muskox.
It is, indeed.
So this track's called Muskox.
Yes, it is. Longer story to that song. The idea started when I was watching some National Geographic's documentary, and there was this badass animal whose resolving of a conflict was to hit the opponent in its head with its head, like headbutting the
conflict
other.
With another Muskox.
Exactly.
They're the headbutter.
Exactly.
And headbutt cows.
Yeah, exactly. And it was. I just watched it. I started laughing. It's so ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, the whole energy, those funny animals, kind of translate when they're doing that. It was like, oh, this could be a song. This has to be a song, because it's like they're bouncing off each other, and that's what the bass stab idea was.
It's pretty perfect for that. It does emulate kind of two animals smashing their heads together.
Yeah, and I remember I tried 4 or 5 different approaches towards. And I had the name already, but I couldn't figure out the song. And I was talking to Thijs back then, and I was like explaining to him, this is so long, why can't I get it right? And I was leaning towards leaving it or going with an older version. But then I think you told me about your struggles. I think with Tentacles, that came together as it was really late in the album process.
Yeah. Tentacles was a godsend.
Yeah.
In a way, it's one of the most popular tracks on our album, but it took so long for us to hit
the point.
Because we were just messing with different.
That's what they think. that's what Tyson Martijn believed. But the original demo was pretty good. I would have been happy with the original demo on the album.
Amazing.
Right. Yeah. So there was an original demo that had a lot of charm, but I don't know. For us, didn't feel like it was talking to us.
Yeah.
And then the vocal idea really made us change the whole bass line, made it way simpler, and that's where we're like, okay, so all this work in the end wasn't for nothing. But it's frustrating because sometimes all that work you do is for nothing, and you just have to.
I gotta say something about this bass sound though. This bass sounds really weird because it's really like weirdly low.
Yeah.
I went into Cubase and Serum and had to go at like trying to recreate the movement in the harmonics, because I figured like it's probably like a fast pitching down sine wave that goes through its harmonics at the same time as it's pitching down.
Okay.
So that you arrive at like a weird, I don't know, difficult to explain, but it wasn't. It sounded like ass, the thing that I made.
It is a square, ultimately.
So this song, this for me is the one that sticks out the most, if there's anyone that sticks out. So what is the story behind this one?
It's Volition, and again it was a song I was having in mind for Maksim, for a little hip hop thing we do on the side. But the riff and how it's progressing kind of screamed for more in a way. So I really wanted to make an album song out of it. And I remember the original demo dropped like this, but then the second 16 went into this very vintage sounding organ chord that went up and down. And ultimately decided then it's too far from what the other songs of the album do in terms of sound design. So I kind of made a new second 16, which is more synthetic and a bit more aggressive, stuck a new snare in there. And in terms of the content of the song, it is kind of a struggle, isn't it? And the song for me, again, there's so many versions of it, and the song just was trying to get finished, but I couldn't get it right. So I really put a lot of effort and time and willpower towards the song, and I'm really happy it finally came together ultimately, and that's why I called it that way as well.
So what is this project you're doing with Maksim then? You've spoken about it a couple times now, but I don't think anyone knows.
So we've been working on drum and bass for forever now, and we also start a little side project where I make hip-hop instrumentals, and Max is, he comes from a hip-hop background, and at some point I just showed him a bunch of my hip-hop beats, and we kind of found out that both of us are very passionate about the idea of making a hip-hop record at some point.
Very nice.
I think it was definitely that's not the word, combined. Both of us really loved hip-hop, and you definitely introduced me to some hip-hop that I wasn't necessarily into before, the kind of guru vibes, and And the reason why no one's heard about it is because it's super secret.
Right. Oh yeah, it sounds very secret the way you guys are talking about it.
But to be honest, we also didn't want to just put something out for the sake. I think, to be honest with you, this is the bottom line for that whole hip hop album, which is exciting for me. I wanted to put out something before the day that I leave this earth that I absolutely love, something that I'm super proud of, that will just, no matter if no one else listens to it, we're still going to absolutely love it. And that's what the hip hop album is all about, basically, I think.
Yeah. So I think a lot of influence on Manifest is also from Martin doing a lot of those beats and going back to like 90s boom bap hip hop sound, but with 2018 drums, obviously, which I don't agree with because I like all the crusty breaks. But anyway, so a lot of influence. I think that's a very cool thing that you took all those sounds and kind of brought them into your drum and bass work too.
And you guys know how it is sometimes. You just get fed up with sitting in front of a synthesizer all day. You just want to work with a drum loop or whatever, or work with a sample for a change, which is just
something more alive.
Yeah.
So this brings us to running, but I mean the Sirens.
He went there.
He did.
I take that back because obviously the vibe is very different. The intro is very different.
But it has a Reese and drums. And Running Blind.
And it sounds a lot better than Running Blind, unfortunately.
Nice one. To be honest, though, I think I showed you, Nick, the first version of the intro draft, and I was just really passionate about the intro chord thing that moved on and moved on and moved on, and I had a drop, it was just drums, and the chord was just doing weird shit, which wasn't going in a direction really. But I really liked the intro, and I was working on a different project on the side, which me and Thijs were in quite a bit. Which was the working title was Reese's Splasher.
True.
So I was really enthusiastic about it when it dropped, but for only like 4 bars, and then you needed to change it. And that's basically what happened. Now it drops, goes into Reese, high Reese, and then goes into low bass.
Yeah, I think the original progression was 8 bars question, 8 bars answers, and now you should try 4x4, and that's what it was then, and that cracked the song for me then. And I tried different Reese variations in terms of pitch, like a Reese like this doesn't really work in a low F or F sharp. It really works in a C sharp, and higher register.
It's not weight, it's like tension.
Exactly, And and the Running Blind comparison is definitely true. I mean, we all talked about it because it is a Reese riff with A-B and a splashy drum break. But ultimately, I mean, obviously, there's inspiration taken by 2000s Bad Company, like rawness.
The Running Blind is a pastiche in itself of Bad Company tracks, basically. That's why it's called Running Blind. After Running Man, is it? And Blind. All Bad Company tracks.
I really like the journey this track gives. I think this is like the track that I'm most proud of for you for doing this, because it would have been easy to let it go back to that drop, but I mean, I like this story a lot as it is told.
I think this is my favorite part, when that kind of vocally synth comes in, and and then all of this starts happening, and it's like flowers out into a song.
And there was
this bit, the rhythmical break, is just fucking weird, actually. I just broke it, and what?
I mean, I was in a lucky position to have the musical backbone of the song completely written. I just had to make it work with this Reese's Splasher idea we had. So the musical aspect of it was really easy, luckily, because the musical piece was written completely, and I just had to put it together in a way that worked. And I think without the musical aspect of the song, I wouldn't have put it on the album, because then it would have been like a carbon copy of Running Blind.
No, I would have chased you to make something to make that drop work, because it is really good, and that's
my favorite part of the song, when it goes into the, what you call it, like the whale part, like the singing whale in the background.
Yeah, okay, so we're approaching the end.
Yes.
The end of this commentary edition / Noisia Radio episode.
Yes. I want to thank you guys for having me in and giving me the chance to explain a little bit about the album.
Well, thank you
Thanks for coming in and enlightening us about the process and obviously talking through it and giving us an opportunity to share our side on it as well, because obviously you'll be getting a lot of interviews about this album, rightfully so, and it's cool for us to also shed some light on the A&R process. Once again, I think you completely smashed it out of the park with this album.
Cheers, man.
I think you deserve a long holiday and many shows with big crowds that appreciate what you've done. I think this is going to resonate for a long time.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Yes. And again, I mentioned a couple of times, again, thanks for taking the time and going on this journey with me. I really appreciate it. And I'm very grateful for that.
Our pleasure.
Nice! Thank you guys for tuning in for this special episode of Noisia Radio. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes.
Keep downloading, liking, feedbacking, sending us music, all of these things.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Maksim. And thank you, listeners, for sticking through with us, talking, ruining the whole album for you. As you know, you can just listen to the real album. This was the commentary edition. Thanks for listening. Ciao. Bye.
Peace.
Peace. Out.